What's going on, everybody? Nick here from Gretsch Drums in Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, at the Forks Drum Closet, one of the most legendary drum shops in the world. We're gonna go inside and talk to manager Daniel Douchette. We're gonna talk shop, we're gonna talk drums, we're gonna talk Gretsch, who's been working for Forks for over 20 years. He knows everything about this shop. Let's go check it out. What's going on, everybody? Nick here with Gretsch Drums, hanging out at the Forks Drum Closet. Closet? I make up my own lingo when I talk in the camera. What's going on, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here. Okay, I usually do this alone and I screw up multiple times.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Exactly what he said. How's it going, everybody? Nick here with Gretsch Drums at the Forks Drum Closet. Daniel, I'll get this. I swear I just woke up. Only had one cup of coffee.
Doing great. Doing great.
Hey, everybody. Nick here inside the Forks Drum Closet, an iconic drum store here in Nashville, Tennessee. Daniel Douchette runs the shop. He is the man. May the Forks be with you. It says it right there on his shirt. We're going to talk drums at this amazing drum shop.
Nick, thank you for being here.
Thanks, man. It only took me about 5 takes to get that opening, but I'm feeling good about it.
Watch how many takes it takes me to do any of this. Absolutely.
So as we get started, and for those of you who don't know what Forks is, it's a drum shop that's been around a long time, but can you give us a little rundown of the history?
Forks Drum Closet was started in 1982 by Gary and Melissa Forkum,
who I met last night. He was at the
Gretsch thing. That's right. Started by the two of them. Gary will historically say he felt at the time he was playing in a whole bunch of bands, and him and Melissa had been married for only a couple of years, and they were going to start a family, and he felt his words, the best way to support his family was going to be to sell drums instead of playing them. Well, so yeah. He's played in a bunch of bands, done a bunch of sessions still to this day, but he started our store in 1982, and it actually was in a closet. That's not actually hyperbole. He was working at a music store over in Berry Hill and bought the inventory from the owner of that music store for not a whole lot of money, and it was literally just the instruments that were in the back room closet of the place he was working at. So he turned that little humble beginning sort of thing with a ton of work and a great team that he had throughout the years into what we all know as Forks Drum Closet today. I think this is our 4th or 5th building, so we moved a couple times, no doubt. And a lot of our viewers will fondly remember, like I do, the 12th Avenue building. That was kind of the main hub that they were in from '96 until 2018. Right. And that was the Forks that I really remembered.
I think that's the one I went to first as well.
Probably so. So yeah, that's where it comes from. And he kind of developed a place where any drummer in the world could get that experience in a local drum shop. We still get to experience that to this day, the magic of a local drum shop, when even on the most stressful day, when you see a young drummer come in the front door and they go, the look of awe, and they can't believe the colors and how, maybe it's a tall building. This is definitely a taller building than our old building was, but just the overwhelming sense of this is a awesome, inclusive, safe place that I can just be a drummer, and everybody in here is gonna be as passionate as I am. That's what Gary looked to create. And that's something that we are hopefully still trying to preserve to this day. No doubt.
Thank goodness you are. That's why I'm doing these dealer spotlights for Gretsch, because there's not that many of these special shops around anymore in the States. And we want to spotlight the ones that are here, because me, like a lot of drummers, and you too, these are important aspects of a music community, I feel. And it's a great place to be able to come and hang. When I grew up as a kid, my little tiny local music store I went to all the time. And I went there and had jam sessions and met other players, and just you felt as part of a community. And then you get to see and touch and feel the drums and the gear and experience the place. And I think it's a really special thing. So congratulations on keeping it going.
We're just happy to be here. Some of us affectionately think about this as the after-school high school job that we never grew out of. And like I said a minute ago, even on the most stressful day, it really never feels like I'm going to work. Right. We love drums. I still love drums. I've got a whole bunch of drums at my house, like everybody. You never really feel like, Gary would say things like, well, guys, you're not outside digging holes in the 200-degree heat.
True.
This is a pretty sweet, easy cake gig, and he's right. Even, like I said, even on the most difficult day. And you're right about independent drum stores, no doubt. I think when I started here 20 years ago, which is weird to say, there were something like 65,
Yeah.
65 independently owned drum stores, and now it's something like 15 or 20.
Yeah, there's not many left.
Not many left, and the ones that are still doing it, you know, they're good friends of ours, and we love supporting them when we're out of town. And it's a specialty thing because, I mean, sure, you can go to a hardware store and find bolts and screws, but, you know, anybody who's been in the middle of the country and had something break, and you go, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't just go to a hardware store 9 times out of 10 and get X, Y, Z. It's really important to still maintain, in our opinion, that network of drum shops that, you know, we try to call each other. If somebody calls us and we don't have something, we'll call Jim at Memphis, who I think you said you went and saw them yesterday. We'll call Shane up at Drum Center Portsmouth, who runs an amazing store up there, and drum stores like that. To try to find, it's important for all of us to sort of still live in our drum store world and bubble, so we can try to help our fellow drummers, because most of us are working drummers and we've all been in those trenches and we know what it's like when something goes wrong and you can't find it. So yeah, drum stores are a dying thing, but I think a lot of us are still doing hopefully the right thing, those couple shops that I just mentioned and others. So yeah, it's a great thing. We love working at a drum store. We love being in them, shopping at them.
It's a great story. Gary's story is great too. He built a business up from nothing and turned it into an amazing thing for so many of us to enjoy and share. So what makes Forks such an iconic part of the Nashville music scene?
I think our customers make us the iconic part of the music scene. Anybody can have a room full of stuff.
Right.
You know, if you got enough money, you can have a building and you can put stuff in it. But our family of customers, in my opinion, 100% are what make this place what it is. There are many times, even if it's a day where you're not necessarily selling gear at 1,000,000 miles an hour, there's so many times where drummers will come in either on their way to a session or from a session, and you see them run into their other buddies, drummer buddies, who maybe they haven't seen in a while because they've either been on the road, and you watch those two guys reconnect, and I think they know that they can come in here, get what they want. I mean, sure, yeah, we've got a ton of inventory, and we can help them with that. But I think it's a safe place, it seems like, for them to be who they are, talk about what they want to talk about, maybe run into an old friend. That was so much of why we keep the thrones right here in the front. And at the old store, there was a big circle of thrones, and so many times you would have session war stories being told by some of the biggest names that there were, and you'd see some younger drummer come in and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just met, you know, Tommy Wells or Jerry Croon or whoever, whatever drummer it's going to be. They're just right there like a regular Joe sitting there just talking shop or talking hockey or whatever it was. I think our customers are what make us what we are, because we're not just a room full of drums. We're a place where people, you know, this rug in front of our front counter, that's the original old dirty nasty rug that's been here for 100 years, and we'd like to think if that rug could talk about who stood on it in front of that counter, I think that's what makes us who we are, as opposed to just a room full of drums.
The last time I was at this specific store, this exact store, I was walking out, and walking in was Chester Thompson. And I had interviewed him once before, and we talked, and we recognized each other, and we hung out for a good half an hour and just talked shop. And it's like, he's an icon, and I'm a huge fan of his. And it's like, hey, Chester, what's going on? It's like,
it's incredible.
It was really cool.
Yeah, we love Chester. He taught here for 20 years, something like that, 25 years. He's retired from that now, but still playing great.
Do you remember a moment when you realized just how special this place is?
I remember personally the exact moment I realized how special this place was. I just started playing drums like a lot of people in my early teens. I was 12 or 13, whatever it was. You try to grow your hair long, and you're wearing like Jinko pants, if you remember those things. And you're like, all right, you know, I think I really identify with rock and playing drums and the whole thing. So I remember walking into Forks for the very first time as a kid, and, you know, I had my little starter drum set, and it was, you know, taped together like a lot of our drum sets are. And you're walking in there, and even as a young kid, immediately being welcomed in by Gary and Paul, who was our manager for 25 years, I think it was. They were so cool. They knew everything about. It seemed like they knew everything about everything, drum-wise, and it was like, wow, you know, these dudes are. This is the real thing, you know. And it was like you were kind of overwhelmed by the sensation of colors and like any symbol you wanted to see, and it just left a mark on me. It was, and then you go to other music stores, guitars, basses, keyboards, and they have a little bit of drums over there, and you immediately, as an impressionable kid, realize, okay, wow, like a real drum store is a thing.
Yeah.
And other music stores are music stores, but they're not drum stores. And that was immediately in my brain as a kid, like, okay, there's a drum store and there's a music store. So it was kind of, like I said a minute ago, watching young folks walk into our store now and they have that overwhelming, like their mouth drops. It was exactly what I went through as a young drummer. And getting to see that look on young drummers' faces now, you hopefully say to yourself, okay, we're still doing the right thing, because that's what I had when I was 12.
So what's the vibe here at Fork's Drum Closet on a typical workday?
On a typical workday, well, you know, you come in first thing, you definitely want to check website orders first, because you want to make sure people get their stuff fast in a world where Amazon rules the world, and you definitely want to be on your game with that. So that's definitely the first thing that we do when we get here.
Okay.
Then past that, you want to make sure there's not just a whole bunch of dust bunnies. You don't want a drum shop to be too clean. There's a certain,
There's a little grit that you need to have.
little grit. You know, we've all been to old record stores, old comic book stores, and there's a certain grime. You don't too much of it because you don't want to go back, but you want a little bit of it because I don't know, I can't explain it, and everybody watching this is going to know what I'm talking about. So you make sure the place is kind of in order. You make sure that drum sets aren't missing cymbals because somebody's going to walk in and they're going to be like, I want to try these, but there's nothing set up to play it.
Yeah.
That's some of the kind of normal sort of things, and then a lot of what we do here is it's a dream job most days, but a lot of what we do here is an office supply store type thing. We are very lucky in Nashville, Tennessee to have, somebody said 30,000 drummers. Now, I don't know who counted 30,000 drummers. I don't think there's a drummer specific census that goes.
Do you play drums? Yes.
Yes, I do. Maybe there is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think our business model may not work in every town. I don't know if stocking, 45 high-end drum kits and every stick in the universe and et cetera, would work in every town. But so much of our day-to-day are drummers who are going to be playing downtown or in a recording studio. A lot of drummers downtown now, which is awesome. They'll come in and they need this stick or this head or they need this snare drum repaired, or it's like, okay, I've got to be down on Broadway in about 35 minutes. My throw-off is stripped out. Can you guys replace it? Or cymbal repair. So a lot of it is day-to-day office supply store type things. We do a lot of social media stuff like everybody does nowadays. So we'll shoot out a bunch of gear videos. We'll do demo videos on equipment. But a lot of it is, like any place, restocking, tuning, cleaning, talking to our friends, listening to some guy who had a bad experience on the road and just making sure he knows it's going to be okay, man, or whatever it is. Gary used to say, our job is 40% drums and 60% drummer therapy. Right. And that's us too.
Sure.
We needed a lot of times too. So that's, a typical day here is.
Again, another reason for the local music shop to stick around and shine.
Because we're all going through it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all going through it, and none of us can hear anymore, and it's important to be there for each other.
You bet. Forks has a strong Gretsch presence, as we could see right behind us here. What do you love about the Gretsch brand?
Okay, so affectionately, in the old days, we would call Gary sort of the leader of the Gretsch Mafia. And Gary historically has played Gretsch, loves Gretsch, buys Gretsch, collects Gretsch. And we used to kind of joke that, well, if you're going to work here, you need to own a Gretsch kit. And it was loosely a joke, but also there's a little bit of that kind of thing happening, and it kind of inevitably always happened. It's like somebody would play brand XYZ, and all of a sudden 3 years later, I don't have those drums anymore. Now I have a Gretsch kit at my house. How did that happen? It's some sort of sleight of hand that Gary would pull, and now all of a sudden you have Gretsch drums at your house. We've had a long-standing relationship with Gretsch, no doubt. Partly because our owner is so passionate about them, but also because the drums sound like they do. It's no mystery that drummers who endorse other brands of drums record with Gretsch drums many times. That's not an industry sort of secret. Maybe it is. Maybe I shouldn't say that. No, but I think a lot of us know that. And that is, I think, to me, that's a testament of how those drums sound. Also, so much of it is that so many of those records that we all grew up listening to were on Gretsch. There weren't 900 brands of drums on so many of these classic records. There was only a few brands of drums at the time, and many times Gretsch drums were on there, so that's what our ears growing up listening to music sort of gravitated toward, just because it was what was there.
Right.
You know, that's I think part of what it is. It's part of that sort of historical rock and roll or jazz or whatever it is sound. Obviously, there's so many guys like Tony Williams and Charlie Watts and drummers like that who made that brand iconic, no doubt. But we've had a great relationship with Fred and Dana at Gretsch. Incredible people. The customer service at Gretsch has always been awesome. The drums have a certain thing that other drums don't have, and that's not a negative thing. I think every brand of drum has its own thing, and that's what makes so many different brands of drums cool. And Gretsch's thing is very iconic and specific to them. And they kind of sell themselves. Sure. I mean, they're classy looking. They sound great. They hold their value in terms of resale, I think, better than a lot of other drums will. So it's kind of a no-brainer. There's not a lot of work goes into selling a Gretsch drum set to somebody, because they kind of sit down, as long as it's tuned, which goes back to a few minutes ago, what we have to do when we get here in the morning, make sure all the drums are tuned so they don't sound like frogs chirping or something weird. You sit down in a Gretsch kit, you immediately kind of get that response back, and they 9 times out of 10 will sell themselves. It's pretty easy to deal with it from a customer side. All of that translates into the sales floor. When somebody sees the Gretsch name to me, they kind of already pick up on that, because, I mean, what is it, 1883 that drum company started? So I mean, it's 150 years worth of doing the right thing, and not everybody has that luxury. So it's pretty easy, man. Yeah. Gretsch is an easy drum to stock, an easy drum to sell. They sound great. They always look great. I mean, look at that rosewood. That's ridiculous. That custom slate gray. I forget what the name of that color is. Too, unbelievable color, and they always sound consistent. You know, the badges are always sort of subtle and classy. You know, the old stop sign badges or whatever it is, and it's just a great company to deal with, and of course the drums sound good. So.
Any favorite Gretsch kits or snares you have in the shop right now? I mean, we're looking at some great ones here.
There's some good ones. I have to say, selfishly, that this 12, 14, 20 Millennium Maple Gloss, which is for sale, by the way.
Of course.
I have to selfishly say maybe that one, because I have the same color in 12, 14, 18 that I bought 16 years ago now. And so when I come in and I see that kit, it kind of reminds me of the one I have at home, which is kind of nice.
And that's the classic sort of
great
Gretsch
color
setup too, isn't it?
And what's so cool about that kit, that finish in particular, is that it ages like honey, kind of, and they sort of turn more amber and almost a little more orange as they age. Not orange, that's the wrong thing to say. But that color ages really, really well. So I guess selfishly I have to say that one. Of course, you can't go wrong with regular rosewood. Yeah. We just got the Savannah Sunset in. That's
a gorgeous kit.
Unbelievable finish right there. And then the custom silver. I mean, you know, that may not be a kit that I normally would buy, but it's a beautiful finish. And then snare drums, we're really lucky to always have a great set of Gretsch snare drums, import and the USA custom stuff. Sure. I think probably a lot of people's maybe favorite is that phosphor bronze 6.5. It weighs about 92 pounds, but it's really got that sort of low-end punch that some of the old historical famous Bell Bronze drums that we all know about kind of have without being $10,000.
What kind of player do you think Gretsch drums speak to?
God, it's everybody.
Yeah. It's not just jazz drummers anymore.
It isn't. I mean, there's still that stigma, you know, of course, because there's so many great jazz drummers that did play Gretsch and still do play Gretsch. But there's so many drummers that play other genres of music with them. You and I both know that they can do anything, right? Of course. You know, some of the biggest.
What's going on, guys?
Hi, kids.
It's a party here.
It's a party.
And you brought donuts.
For you, though. I knew you were going to be here.
That's a good donut shop.
Thank you for being here.
I don't want to disturb you guys.
We're just chatting. Okay. Just chatting away.
Right on.
Yeah,
What do you think?
The guys from Remo just showed up. See? That's what happens at the Fourth Drum Closet.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
a
man, they
minute
just
ago,
show
right?
up and we talk. And
that's what it's all about. And you guys hadn't seen each other in how long,
I haven't seen Brian in a long time.
See?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Jazz drums, definitely, no doubt. Some of the biggest rock and metal records in history have been recorded on Gretsch drums, whether people know it or not.
Right.
There's a famous drum set that technician in California, Ross Garfield, the drum doctor, big Gretsch kit that he has that's on maybe the biggest metal record of all time by the biggest metal band of all time, who does not play Gretsch, but recorded with those drums. So even if you're not familiar that you're hearing Gretsch drums, you're hearing Gretsch drums. And when you hear a Gretsch drum set, you go, wow, that sounds like that record, but I thought that drummer played brand XYZ. Interesting. Okay, that's an interesting thing. Gretsch drums could do it all. Now, they are different than other drums. Gretsch drums are powerful and a little bit raucous, and they have killer mid-range and low end that other drums may not have. And again, that's not a bad thing. To me, there's room for everybody.
Sure.
Every color in the crayon box is important, and Gretsch is one great color in that crayon box. So I really think it's important for any drummer thinking about playing any kind of music to check out every brand of drums, but don't close your eyes to Gretsch drums just because you think, Tony Williams played these drums. That means that me and my extreme metal band, maybe I don't want to play those drums. I don't think that's the case at all. No, it's not that they're going to work for you for sure, but it's always worth checking out.
You bet.
Always worth checking out.
So how has this shop evolved over the years, and how has it stayed the same? Is there certain...
Sure.
Is there a little bit of both?
Absolutely, it has. Physically evolved because I think earlier I said we moved maybe 4 or 5 times.
Right.
Physically, it's evolved because we're in a different location.
Right.
Our old building, the one on 12th Avenue, you remember, it was a little more like a cave. Much shorter ceiling, a little darker. Everything was in its own little room and cubby, very much like a closet. So you got to kind of peek around corners and discover different aspects of it. Here, everything's kind of in one room. So the physical evolution has sort of changed in the fact that everything is under actually one roof now. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of see all of it at the same time when you walk in the front door, as opposed to, at the old place, they'd walk in, they'd see our little percussion area, and then they'd say, okay, well, see you guys, and you say, well, you didn't even go to the back room where everything is, and then they would go back there, and you wouldn't see them say it, but you'd hear, wow, from the back room. And you're like, well, okay, now they see.
The old snare closet
Yeah.
used to do that, give me the wow factor. When I would walk in and just see the 4 walls just crammed with so many great snares. That always blew me away in that room.
It was a thing, it still is a thing. So physically the evolution, that's part of it. The other side of the evolution is we all have to exist in the new world, the new economy.
For sure.
And you try to have as much of a selection as you possibly can for people, but you also have to be responsible because everybody's rent's going up. Costs are rising across the board. So maybe you don't have 10 $5,000 exotic drum sets. Maybe you have 5 or 3 or whatever it is, and you just kind of try to rotate them as quick as you can. So that's something we have to be very cognizant of and present about, I think. So yeah, physical location, no doubt, has evolved. What we carry and how much of it we've had to pay very close attention to, and that kind of evolves for sure. But the thing we try not to change is the wow factor. Like we said a minute ago, we see the kid come in and the kid goes, oh my gosh, that means we're still doing that part of it right.
Sure.
You still want to keep it the same hometown drum store vibe.
Again, that's what makes this place so special.
We're hopeful to keep that going, no doubt.
Why should someone come and visit Fork's Drum Closet if they haven't already?
They should come visit Fork's Drum Closet to give us money. No.
Well, yeah.
Well, that is part of it.
Yeah,
we
you
got,
are business.
I mean, these lights, it costs money to run these
Yeah,
lights.
for sure,
That is
for
true.
sure.
The real thing is not just us, because even if Fork's wasn't here, it's still important to visit your local drum store, because 9 times out of 10, those are small, locally owned. I don't think any of the drum stores that I know about are corporately owned. I think every one of them is a mom and pop type shop.
Right.
For sure. So of course supporting small local businesses is important. That's maybe one reason to do it. But also hopefully at any of these stores, I know in Memphis, I know up at Drum Center Portsmouth, I know those guys are great. They're always going to take care of their people. They're never going to talk down to whoever it is. And that's what we try to do here. All these guys are drummers, and they are drummers. And Jim plays in like 6 bands.
12
bands. Right, so that person, Jim Pettit, is going to know what the gear is that he's playing, what happens when it goes wrong, what you're going through when your stuff goes wrong, and he's been in your shoes. So I think locally owned drum stores, those are people that they've been in the trenches where you are right now. They're not just there as a salesman. 9 times out of 10, they're there to be your friend. and just they want to typically hear your story. So it's important to go to drum stores. Long answer here, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Keep going.
It's important to go to locally owned drum stores to me, whether it's us or anybody else, just because they're going to know you're a drummer and they're going to know what you're looking for or have been through. And they don't want it to happen to them, and they don't want it to happen to you either.
Right.
We've all had our pedal break at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you go, oh my God, how am I gonna make this work? That's what we're trying to take off of your plate as the customer, so you don't have to worry when you're out there.
Nice. Appreciate the time. Best of luck to this amazing shop. If you're ever in Nashville, you gotta come visit Forks Drum Closet.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you guys too. Thank you, sir.